Hey everybody, welcome back to Stamping School. This is Linda, working in the annual catalog today. This, by the way, is going to be retiring by the end of April. So the retirement lists come out, I believe, on March 23rd, coming up very soon because demonstrators can see the new catalog online if you're a current demonstrator, March 23rd. So they put the retiring list out the same time. And I think this one is going to be retiring, and I love it. And I've loved the paper and used the paper quite a bit. It's called Symmetry, and it does come with a punch if you want to bundle it with the punch. But it's weird because the punch really doesn't go with anything in here. They're really kind of independent. It kind of works for this, but not perfectly. I think it's just meant to coordinate. But I really love the stamp set, and I love the papers. And I had a request from Regina in Maine, and she said, could I show some easy cards using this set and something that doesn't have to be embossed, die cut, or colored. So I thought, well, why not? Let's do it. Now at the same time, this week, Stampin' Up! Sends us these little emails every week, and this sample was in the email. And I love the layout of it. So you've got your designer paper back here, and you've got a little strip of something for your main image, and then a sentiment. So based on that and the request, I'll show you what I came up with. So the Sweet Symmetry paper has all the colors that you need to kind of build on. I love it when a designer paper has at least 3 colors because then you can really mix and match. So here is my main card, my panel of designer paper. Here is a 2.5-inch strip and my sentiment. And I went with every design in there. Here's the second one, the second design in that paper. And again, this one. This one's in the middle. So this one's on the right. These are on the left. This one's in the middle, just playing around. This paper happens to be vanilla instead of white, so I did a vanilla piece right here. I'm just changing the greetings around. And then this one, I turned it on its side just to try something a little different. All right, so these were all really easy to do. I did do a little fussy cutting on a couple of the flowers just to give them some interest. But let me show you how to cut everything. And that was another request from Regina. She said, could you show me how to cut it instead of just magically having the pieces appear? So I get it. Sometimes we pre-cut everything to save time. 8.5 by 11, I'm using the Just Jade. And by the way, these colors are the ones that are going to be retiring. So if you need the inks or the refills or anything for the 2020 to 22 in colors, I'll just tell you now because it's probably going to happen. They're going to sell out quickly. They always do. The in colors are on page 123, and if you happen to buy Cinnamon Cider, Just Jade, Bumblebee, Magenta Madness, or Misty Moonlight, if you own any of those ink pads and do not have the refills, get them very soon. Actually get them before the retiring list comes out because they're certainly retiring, and sometimes the refills go quickly for those. So get your paper refills, all the stuff you need for those. 8.5 by 11, Just Jade. So I'm going to score it at 5.5 inches, the whole paper. Okay, remember, here, I'm going to score that first. And that way I get to score once and cut, cut once to make the 2 cards. And this is at 4.25. And then I have my 2 cards. That's the card base. And here's some 12 by 12. This is the Symmetry. So I want this design to be up and down, and I want the panel to fit here. So we're going to go to 4 inches and make our layer. 4 inches. I like to cut from the bottom up just in case it slips or something. And then I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to cut it at 5.25, which is right here. And I know many of you asked me where I got this ruler up here. You can still see 5.25. You don't have to have the ruler up there. So these I got on Amazon. They are adhesive rulers for workbenches. So you might even Google workbench adhesive rulers. And you want the one that reads from right to left. So this starts 0 here. This is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just like having a ruler on the top. And I love this cutter from Stampin' Up. It's my favorite cutter. But the only thing that I really missed was the ruler up top. So I fixed it. And you do have to trim off the first inch because it gets caught here. You can't come across these little bumpy guys. All right, so I'm going to 5 1/4, cutting one panel, cutting another panel at 5 1/4, and then you've got pieces left over. And I took these, and on all my cards, there's little pieces. You can do 3/4 of an inch, you can do a whole inch, but I kept all of these. So if I wanted to, I could cut them at 3/4, right there, and get 2 pieces. And I would cut these down to match my little bottom. So save all these little guys because you might need them for the bottom, for a little extra. Okay, so out of a 12 by 12, you're gonna get 6 panels like that. Now, if you don't wanna use this much designer paper, you could certainly use an embossed panel. You could stamp your own. So this layer is flowers, obviously, but you can do anything for this layout. See, it's already pretty. You can do anything with it. Remember the banner cards I did? You could just put a nice banner and a sentiment and be done. Let's do this one here. Now these are photopolymer stamps and they're large. So if your workspace is really hard, you may not get the best impression. I really like to use the foam pads. They are not available right now, but normally they're $5 and they're wonderful to have. A mouse pad works. It doesn't have to be this, but they just make everything stamp better. Now I went with the paper. So I looked at the paper and I thought I want to do this design right here. And I'm gonna do coral flower, and sometimes the flower in this paper is flirty flamingo. So you kind of have to just go with whatever the designer paper looks like. And this flower, which is kind of interesting, it can go up like this, and in some cases it can go down like I did here. So make it your own. In this case, I'm gonna go up on this one. I'm gonna stamp this right here. Solid stamp, hold it down for a few seconds. There you go. Now, interestingly about this flower, you could mask it and make one big flower, but look, this is the same flower cut out. It actually matches up perfectly. Look at that. Look at there. So it can make a whole flower if you really want it to. Right. Next, there's a little stem. I'm going to do the same jade ink that we did for the cardstock. There's a little stick. Oh, I'm glad we're going to cover that up. Little stem right there. And now following this designer paper, I can even do 3 leaves like that. So let's try it that way. I'm going to go 1, and this one, the leaves are exactly the same size and they're mounted together. 2, and they're clear so you can see what we're doing. And 3. So it looks like the paper a little bit. Might be slightly crooked, but it's good. I'm going to extend that stem down so it fills in a little bit better. I've got a little piece of the yellow from another piece of designer paper from that. Same bundle, put that right here. Now on some of the cards I added some gold foil. This is actually the brushed gold. I added a little bit of this on some just to give it a little extra sparkle, I suppose. I'm just gonna add this at the bottom. What's really fun, I mean, I made all of these in about an hour or so, and I just kept playing around with all the different designs. It's very forgiving. Now here's where you decide, do you want to glue it flat on here? Do you want to pop something up? Do you want to pop the sentiment up? You can do any kind of sentiment. Something large, something small. I'm going to stick with the same color palette of the coral and the green. You can tie the ribbon on like I did right here. I tied a little bit of the linen thread right here. So on this one, I think I'm gonna pop it up with some dimensionals up here. And you can add a layer underneath it if you feel like this doesn't stand out enough. So you could add a layer around here in the green. But I kind of like it just being easy in the white. Now I stamped this one in the coral right here. I'm going to pop up dimensional just on this one side, and then I'm going to add a little bit of gold cord under this too, just to make it stand out a little bit. So if you just tie a nice loose bow, so it's probably about 12 inches of this cord, make it a nice big loopy bow that will show underneath here. This will just go right here, and I can pop this up just like that. So put that right here. Put a little dimensional on it just to hold it down, right there. And remember, I'll have the dimensional on one side so it kind of balances out everything. And that goes right here. So you just see a little bit of that twine sticking out, just like that. And then rhinestones. I have used these in color rhinestones so much. Matter of fact, I'm going to put a yellow one right here. Sequins, if you're going to mail them and you want to make sure that it's not too bulky. But you've got a little step here, so you can add a few little rhinestones here and there. The pink is too pink for the coral, but the yellow and these green look pretty nice with it. So we'll do a few little green ones around there. That's what I did on this one. On this one, I did the bow underneath it, just like that, so you can see, and added that. Now the leaves, let me show you the leaves on this one, and let me show you how to cut that 2.5 inch panel. I have my 8.5 by 11 paper, and you're gonna cut it at 4 1/4 first. So the panels that go on top are all 4 1/4 long, so we're gonna cut the paper right in half at 4 1/4. And then you're going to turn it, and we're going to cut at 2.5. And that is what I use for all the cards. So you're going to get quite a few out of here, and you'll have a little bit left over for any banners or anything you might want. So let me show you the trick on this one here, or being able to stamp the flowers, to stamp these leaves. There's a little bit of a trick for it. We're going to stamp that same large flower, but this time he's going to be up and down. Oops, I should use my foam. He's going up and down like this. We'll just do it in green because I have the green ink right next to me. Then the stem, and I may have to extend that down a little bit, but we'll see. Now, this one starts with the largest one first, and this one is already mounted that way. It comes just like that. So the largest one is first, and again, mimicking the paper, so it looks like that. There's the large one, which reminds me of a mermaid tail. So you could probably do something like that with a mermaid. Then what I did, there's not a middle one, a middle size. They have 2 individual leaves right here, these little guys. So they have the 2 small ones that are hooked together, and we're going to do that one next down here. It sort of helped me to, have that space in between that I could line up easier. There we go. Then I can come in with these little individual ones and get it just where I want it. I don't know why it helped me, but it did. I think it's the shape of it or something. It was easier to model after this shape down below, right there. Okay, and that's how that works. I'll just walk you through these and what I did with them. The measurements are the same panel and the same 2.5 by 4 1/4, right? So this one I stamped in the bumblebee, and on this one I stamped in coral and popped it up and then did the leaves. And because I had this big empty space right here, I moved it over to this side and put the greeting this way. And I added twine all the way around it. I showed you this one already. Let's see. And this one. This one I just had this empty space, so I stamped a little flower there. You could put a bumblebee there. You could put a butterfly, anything right there. Even though the stems are navy, I love this card. On this one, I did stamp this flower again in yellow and cut out this little piece up top, just to give it a little extra something up there. And here is the vanilla one. This is the double punch. This guy right here. That might be retiring. I'm not sure. I think people didn't like it being on the same punch, but it did save a lot of space. You just have to remember to run little strips of paper through. So you run your vanilla or white through for your sentiment, and then this one is the color cardstock. And this one, I just did some vanilla twine right here and popped it up. This one I put right in the middle because it was a very big greeting. I love the sentiments in that set. I love the font. They all come in there, especially the Hey Friend. I feel like I use that one a lot. Best day ever. I just stamped the flowers. This one I popped up. And the one on the side. This one was actually harder to do because I wanted to use that big flower, but this is just a nice 4-inch long panel instead of the 4 1/4, just because I wanted it to stop right there. Very easy. Now for the insides of all of them, I just did the little swag. And that is these 2 stamps right here and this little flower. I mounted them on the stamp this way. So I put them down on my paper and I pressed the block there just so that it was a one and done. I wouldn't have to try to line it up again. So I could do all of my cards all at once. And the little bitty flower goes right inside. Just kept them all blank on the inside just so I could use them for whatever I needed them for. Well, Regina, I hope that gave you a lot of ideas to use with the paper and the stamp set. There's no coloring, there's no embossing, there's no die cutting. There's a little fussy cutting if you want to, but it's not necessary. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.